Eric Fry here. I'm joined by Dr. Jennings at St. Anthony Memorial Hospital. Doctor, how are you doing today?
I'm well, sir. Yourself?
Can't complain, especially with everything going on. I can't complain at all.
No, I think we've all been pretty lucky so far as that goes, and continue to enjoy the celebration last weekend and Easter, and now back to the work.
Yes, back to work, unfortunately, but for some of us, some of us are still at home, under this quarantine, and what are we seeing any updates at all on this virus we're dealing with?
Well, there's several things.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate, first of all, that you and I think radio's interesting because you can do it from anywhere.
Right.
So the idea of trying to continue to keep people at home and keep them safe and to socially distance and continue with hand washing, those things that we've been doing, has made I think the difference in why we're not seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the state map and you look at this kind of globally, what you're seeing is an uptick, of course, in the metropolitan areas we'd already seen,
right,
which was expected. There's a lot of people that live in those areas. But now the collar counties, the surrounding counties, are starting to see more and more of an impact, and kind of that slow creep out into the surrounding areas. And that's where I think we now need to continue to be extremely diligent around the things that we're doing, that as this creeps, we don't have an enormous problem.
Yeah, and some of the people that I've, some of my friends and stuff, we communicate via social media currently right now, and a lot of us are concerned that basically once it's kind of, I don't want to say gone, but not as high in the metropolitan areas, and they kind of, say, hey, the ban is over, that's when it's really going to affect us here.
I agree. Well, I agree, and this gets to that whole idea of testing, and lots of questions around, who to test, who not to test, why don't we test, and the idea that testing about disease at the moment is only going to tell you whether or not you have the disease right then. It doesn't say that then you're free to roam.
Right.
And so, as the cities start to pick up more ability to do some of that on-site testing and rapid turnaround testing, that type of testing is not going to then give us the license to roam. Now, will the immunity testing eventually come into play and be valuable? Boy, I sure hope so. But right now, all of the questions about testing really go back to the idea that a positive or negative only means that you're positive or negative right now. It doesn't change the behaviors that we have to continuously apply around social distancing, et cetera. And in fact, we continue to evolve our own processes at the hospital in relation to that. And so this week you've seen the closure of our south entrance, our prairie entrance, as part of that idea of making sure that we're consolidating entry points, we're reducing the number of people that potentially run into someone else and have contact with someone else that might be a carrier and simply doesn't know it because, again, that testing is only as good as the day that you had it.
Right, and one of the things people, there are multiple things people can do to protect themselves, and prevent this from happening. But if you do think that you may have picked it up, we talked last time I talked to you about the differences between just allergy, common cold, and this coronavirus. If you think you may have it, what can you do?
Well, so one is definitely reach out to your primary care physician and speak to them and kind of walk through your symptoms to determine, hey, does this seem something that's out of character and you're disproportionately ill, or is this kind of unfortunately in the setting of COVID, every other bug is still running around too. So so what sounds more like a routine type of illness where you just need to stay at home, like we're recommending for everybody, or do you need to come to the emergency department for evaluation? And we can help with that by like I said, reaching out to your primary care doc, using the online resources to go through Anytime Care and those types of things to speak to a provider so that they can help you walk through it. But more than anything else, I don't want anybody staying at home out of concern that we're not going to be able to handle,
right.
Or that you're concerned, the closure of the other entrances and directing people to the emergency department. Several folks said, well, I don't want to have to go to the emergency department entrance. Well, we've got provisions in place so that if you come in and you have a non-emergency room complaint, that will move you through to a different area, right away, so that you're not in those scenarios. So the message still is social distancing and just being aware of your surroundings.
And I like what you said there about, if you do have issues, don't be afraid to go to the emergency room for fear of, well, if I go there and there are people who have it, I may get sick. If you have stuff that needs to get taken care of, still get it taken care of. Don't, I think I may have broke my arm. Well, I'll just wrap it at home and I'll be fine. Stuff like that, you got to get it taken care of.
Yeah, correct. And, I've had concern that, folks maybe are neglecting significant health conditions out of fear, and that's not the message. The message is use the emergency room for emergencies. And if you've broken a bone, you're having chest pain, those types of things. And we already have processes in place to make sure that you'll be cared for safely, and that we'll also be able to handle folks with respiratory concerns in a pathway that keeps them safe, my employees and colleagues safe, and ultimately the community then.
And that's what our goal is, to keep everyone safe, whether you are quarantined at home or whether you are, considered one of those essential employees. And, Doctor, you and your staff, we as a community greatly thank you guys right there dealing with this and putting yourselves at risk and for our community. And I know I can speak for myself when I say I really appreciate the fact that St. Anthony's is open and is tackling this head on. We really appreciate it.
No, I thank you, Ved. Those are too kind. But I also know that there are lots of businesses that are being severely impacted by this. And, as an institution that employs, upwards of over 800 people, the financial impact of this has been tremendous. And I'm sure that there's lots of folks out there that are hearing about that we will be going through a kind of a voluntary furlough process to let folks, decide if they can potentially, be off in this time when we have tremendous need and yet low volume.
Right.
It's kind of the help for the best and plan for the worst. And you will be hearing not dissimilar to most businesses that we are going to be offering that type of opportunity for our colleagues. At the end of the day, just like every other employer, I want to make sure that people get a full paycheck.
Yep.
And if that paycheck is best delivered by offering the opportunity to be furloughed and use those resources through the state, et cetera, that unfortunately from time to time we have to use, then that might be the best choice. And so right now we're suffering like every other business in that regard. And my heart goes out to all those small businesses that do need your help. And so buying gift certificates and doing those types of things that you're going to use later, check out the Chamber of Commerce website. FEDM is amazing. We've got so many great businesses and everybody can help to make sure that at the end of this, we emerge just as strong and successful as we've always been.
And I love what you said there, Doctor. At the end of this, there is an end. We don't really, at this moment, know when, but we will get through this all together, probably come out stronger on the other side because of it, but there is an end at some point.
There is, and boy, have we learned a lot. I've learned more. I went to medical school for how many years, and I think I've learned more in the last 5 weeks than maybe I did during all that time, at least around so many complexities here and the impact of how it isn't just one thing. So there is an end. If you look at the modeling, you look at the curves, what you expect is that there's going to be a tail end. So I think it's important for people to realize that it won't be on May 14th suddenly this is over.
Right.
But at May 14th, and I'm just making up that day, but pick a day, we're going to be in the tail end of this where, yes, there's still cases, yes, we're still dealing with it, but we will have avoided the overwhelming consequences of a pandemic that would have made our resources and our personnel unable to be sustained.
Well, thank you so much for continuing to handle this and deal with this, and also for joining us here. I learn so much talking to you every time, so I greatly appreciate it. But thank you so much for joining us here today on 95.7.
Thank you, and thank you to WCRC for letting us have this opportunity.
Absolutely, anytime. Take care, okay?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.